Everybody, this is COMMS, straight out Tehachapi. I'm here with Ryan Garrett, my co-host, partner in crime, and today we have Marshall. How do you say your last name?
Lichtenwaldt.
Lichtenwaldt.
Just kidding. Lichtenwaldt is just fine.
All right. Tehachapi Hardcore legend, the dopest MC, freestyle rapper, but for reals. Marshall, singer of the Warriors, best band to come out of Kern County. One of the best bands to come out of California, in my opinion. One of my favorite bands. Good friend, all around great dude, great dad, great husband. Love this person with all my heart. Marshall, what have you been up to? Where are you at? How you living?
First of all, Andy, thank you for the kind words. The feelings are mutual.
Thank you.
Well, I live up in Spokane, Washington. I got two awesome boys. I got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And we fucking party. I work. I don't know. I work and I buy them shit and we have a blast. Also, I have 2 dogs. A 65-pound pit bull, Sonia, and I got a little dog named Cora. She's about 10 pounds, and, well, in my free time, I go in the backyard and I pick up dog shit. And I fill this 5-gallon bucket. And usually about every 2 to 3 weeks, that bucket's full. And so on Wednesdays is trash day, right? And so here's what I do. When the shit bucket is full, I take all that shit and I put it in the trash can right before the trash guy pulls up, and then I wait in the window for him to pick it up, knowing that he's about to dump like 20 to 25 pounds of shit in his truck. That's the kind of shit that I do with my free time.
Whatever keeps you
literal.
I like that you have a method to your madness, dude. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like so spiteful, and I kind of dig that. I don't know why.
Well, I mean, what other options do I have? Really, there is none. So
I like that you get joy out of it, though. Like, he's got to pick up the dog poop, so like at least you get to watch and be like, oh, and get some joy out of it. So I dig.
And then I sit there on the couch and I kind of think about like what that guy's life must be like. He just picks up trash every fucking day. And maybe when he dumps it at like the site, like maybe he stomps around in it and like, I don't know, maybe like they rummage through it sometimes and find something cool.
Dude, but he probably listens to like Slayer all day. I hope my garbage man is listening to Biohazard all day in his headphones. Biohazard, as he's throwing trash and getting all amped, dude, just throwing trash in the trash can, just like rocking out, dude.
Yeah, so I work in a tire shop, and we go through a lot of old tires. So all the old tires I stack, and I stack them in this fucking giant pile. It gets about 20, 25 feet tall, and there's 2 rows of them. And these guys come once a week and pick them up. And one of the guys, they come from Montana, and one of these guys, I fucking shit you not, looks just like Vinnie Paul. It's insane. He wears like these basketball shorts and like a wife beater, and he rolls up with like this like do-rag.
Is it him?
It's possible, but I'm just like, dude,
gotta make a living, dude.
Fucking Vinnie Paul. But he's always late, so he pisses me off. I'm like, oh fucking, I'm like Vinnie Paul, good to see you. And he's like, what? Like, fucking, I'm like, do you even listen to Pantera? You cannot dress like that. Motherfucker doesn't even know. You gotta handle it too, so whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he listened to like fucking like Kid Rock or something. So,
ball with the ball, dude.
You got to push the tires on top of them, then, dude. And
that's just it. Well, no, some people like their cucumbers pickled. Kid Rock is somebody's Slayer,
I guess, dude. Hey. All right.
It's like, yeah. I mean, sometimes, like, if I'm, like, at when people ask you, like, like, people that are outside of hardcore, and they say, hey, what does your band sound like? That's one of my favorite. I used to hate it, and now it's, like, one of my favorite fucking things, because now I just look at him and I say, well, have you ever heard of a little band called Godsmack? And they go, yeah. I go, yeah, it's kind of like that. You know?
Whatever sells records, man.
You ever heard of a band called Stained? It's all about the way you say it, too. You ever heard of a band called Soilwork?
Do you play them the Warriors' new record then? And they're like, oh, yeah, Godsmack.
No, true story. True story. One of my buddies at work, I'm not going to say his name. He is a dear friend. But like most people in this world, he just doesn't know shit about hardcore. Anyways, he's listening to the record. I said, hey, man, when I had some demos and stuff, and I was like, hey, man, I want to show you the new shit. And he puts on the headphones, and he's like, oh, and he gets into it. Then about halfway through, he's just like, when he like takes them off and he goes, you guys kind of sound like Godsmack. Then he puts the headphones back on, and I'm like giving him this kind of face, like, you know how like a dog kind of like cocks his head when you say a trigger word? You're like, and then he sees that face, and he looks at me again, and he goes, just to like comfort me, he says, old Godsmack.
Oh. Man.
Believe it or not, that actually comforted me. I was like, oh, not the new shit.
Right. Yeah, the hard stuff. Yeah, the hard stuff.
The good stuff.
Yeah, the early stuff.
Yeah, so.
Hello there, people of the internet. This is Morgan McStuds letting you know that Ill Communications' new 12-inch is available from Another City Records. Representing Tehachapi and Oxnard, California, Ill Communication features members of the Warriors, Retaliate, and Die Hard Youth. This one-sided 12-inch is laser printed on the B-side and available in 3 different colors. It features Ill Communications remastered EPs, Ode to the Old Gods, and Death Threats in hieroglyphics for the first time on vinyl. It also features guest vocals from Oxnard and Tehachapi hardcore legends Zach Nelson, Andrew Verity, and Marshall Lichtenwaldt. Another City Records will be donating a portion of every record sold to SOS Bookings for the Children's Charity. Pre-order now. Ill Communications' new record from AnotherCityRecords.com. That's AnotherCityRecords.com.
So let's see here. What did we do? There's a new band out called Scalp, guys. Have you guys listened to that?
Yep. So that's the record that Marshall picked that we're in review. Scalp, Domestic Extremity.
Yep. Domestic Extremity. Yep. So this band is from. I did a little research because they're relatively new. They're from Orange County.
Yeah. And
they're really fucking really. I don't know how to describe the sound because I don't generally listen to that type of thing, but it's heavy and fucking hateful and spiteful, and it's really grindy, kind of beat down, like doomy, crusty. Like I imagine like one of the dudes probably wears like a leather jacket at least, kind of like Nails, you know what I mean? Or like kind of like dirty, like maybe he doesn't shower sometimes. Yeah. And that's fucking sweet. Like, so like when I listen to this record and I'm like, okay, Orange County, the first thing that comes to my mind when I was like that age is fucking Throwdown Beyond Repair. And maybe this is kind of like what Throwdown Beyond Repair was to us. Because, I mean, you guys can't look at me and tell me you haven't listened to that record 1,000 times.
I just bought it, dude. My kid just bought it. Brody just bought it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
See, that's a classic. And it's like, when I think of Orange County, I always think of fucking that era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so these guys are keeping the flame alive or whatever for that area, and it's cool. I mean, it's a good record. It's heavy. What is it? It's fucking 10 songs, and it's like 18 minutes long.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty short record. It's got fucking sweet artwork.
Yeah.
And I was like reading their lyrics, and I'm like, oh man, these guys are fucking. They hate cops. They hate religion. They hate racists. They have a song about fucking, take the scared from the fucking scared. Yeah. Straight up. Like very very graphic and hateful.
Yeah.
They have, their artwork's sweet. And they kind of have like all the ingredients to like make shit happen, I think. Like I could see them playing with like Drain and like fucking, shit like that.
They remind me of that band Gulch. Like
Gulch. Okay. Yeah.
Fast, pissed, heavy, like a little bit of everything thrown together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Not really my style, but like I definitely think it's cool. Like they could play with any band, I think, like, and they wouldn't be like too far out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Every show,
Yeah, and I think the record's good, and I think that like live, I think I'd like them even more because I think that they just lose their goddamn minds.
Yeah, that would make a difference for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. Once shows start happening again, it'll be interesting to see like what kind of lineups they get on and shit like that. Because they putting out a record right now as a new band during this time is fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Because you can't play.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't play shows,
especially
so
a band like this.
You have to wait.
Like it's aggressive music. You kind of need that show, that visceral reaction, totally. In order to really experience it.
Yeah,
I do think this style of music's hyped right now, though. Like the crossover, thrashy, metal, hardcore is the hype. Like that band Gulch is super hype, dude. And they're rad, dude. Like the videos and the music is rad. So I think there's going to be a couple other bands that bite that style super hard and like get big too. And
this record it's also got some weird, not weird, but like death metal vibes.
Yeah, I think
there's some other stuff happening there that's just outside of hardcore, but yeah, it's a pretty cool record.
I hope that when this band when we do be able to go shows again, they play with other bands, not the style. If that makes sense. Like if this band and Gulch played shows, it'd be too much for my brain. Like, but if Gulch played with Drain and then Scalp played with Dead Heat, I'd be pumped on those shows. Like it'd be like the cool mix of like.
Oh yeah. There's an entire show of like
overload to me if they're all together. That's just me, and I'm old, so.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you think about this record? Anything else to add?
No, for me, it's like you said, it's not necessarily my style. I don't necessarily listen to a lot of the heavier type stuff, but every once in a while you'll hear something and it's like, actually, this is pretty cool. And this one, everything about it, they just do really well. So like all the songs are cool. It's just cool. But yeah, it's to me, it's a little more on that death metal vibe that I don't normally listen to, but this record, yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely not my thing, but the recording is like awesome and it's like brutal, dude. Like it's like cool. I'm glad Marshall brought it up and recommended it, so we checked it out. I listened to it like 10 times in a row and like I didn't like get bummed out, so it was definitely a cool listen. I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm trying to picture a scenario of like when I would play this, and it's just like fucking dive bar, driving home, hammered. You just do a couple fucking rales, and you just drive home listening to that. Like that's this kind of record.
It'll wake you up, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that, or if like, I don't know, if like you're in the gym and you just pounded like 2 bangs and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, lift
this car up.
With the help of Scalp. And bang. Yeah.
So Marshall, what'd you rate this record on the rating system that we came up with?
Okay, so I kind of teetered back and forth with Sure Shot and Believe the Hype. And I think it's Believe the Hype. I think it's worth checking out, especially keeping up with current shit. I think it's an important record right now because I don't know. There's just a certain feeling you get, or like, you know, you get an idea of like, you can tell like when a band's going to do good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the case here. So I'd say it's Believe the Hype for sure, because it'd be interesting to see what these guys do.
Okay, Ryan, what do you got, Ryan?
And it's worth listening to. So
For sure.
yeah.
So I was kind of on the same level where I was borderline between the two. I actually went with Sure Shot because, again, I think that's mostly just because of the type of music that I typically listen to. This is kind of an outlier, like in the record collection. You know, it's going to be something that it's like I'm looking forward to, like Malcolm finding it someday and being like, "What's this?" and putting it on and just being like blown away, like, "Oh, I didn't know Ryan listened to that." But you know, I like Marshall said, it's good to listen to. It's something that I would recommend to people, like, hey, check this out. Like, I have a lot of friends that would be really into this record.
I agree. Yeah, I was in the same conundrum of Sure Shot or Believe the Hype. But I wouldn't Believe the Hype, even though it's not my thing. Like, I just hear how much the zeitgeist for Gulch is huge, dude. Like, people love Gulch, and I don't want to keep comparing them to that band, but like in my mind, it's the same type of thing. Just the chaoticness, the brutalness, the just all over the place, but it works. And there's been other bands that I've heard this lately that I feel like are trying to do the same thing that don't work, and this band works. So I think it's definitely a solid record that, like, if you're into heavy music, you should check. Like, if you like Throwdown, you like freaking death metal, you like whatever, like, you might be into this. So that's what I rated at. So that's what I went with. So the next record that we are going to talk about, which we probably don't talk about that long, but is Chain of Strength, the one thing that still holds true. Obviously, none of us have the 7 inches, so we're just going with the CD, LP, whatever on Rev. Ryan, start us off, man.
Actually, so I mean, what can you say about Chain? Like, this band is so good. It's so good. Like, to me, they're like the quintessential hardcore band. Like, if you were to ever describe to somebody like what hardcore sounded like it's textbook. This is the band that you would be like, this is straight edge hardcore right here. This is it. And like everything they did, it was, I don't want to say perfect, but it was cool. Like the band itself, like everything about it was just awesome. Like, you know, it's before my time. So yeah, just that LP and the 2 extra songs or whatever, 1 extra song, whatever it was. But yeah, to me, if I was making a band, like, this is a great place to start with what I want it to sound like.
Yeah, can't go wrong. Marshall?
That Chain of Strength, the one thing that still holds true. The first time I ever heard that record was in Tehachapi. A guy, I wish I could remember the guy's name. I've been trying to think of it all day. Maybe you can help me out, Andy. He used to go to shows. David, his name was Dave.
Dave, not Dave.
No, it wasn't Dave.
Dave Wagnon.
Was it Daniel Griffin?
No, David. His name was David. Anyways, I guess that's not the important part. But I was going through his CDs, and I asked him if I could borrow it.
Pesowitz, dude.
Yes.
Mercero. Dave Mercero.
Yes.
Dave Mercero.
Dave.
So I was going through his CDs, and he had it, and he let me borrow it. He was like, "Yeah, dude, whatever," and I borrowed it, and dude, that record's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it's very straightforward. The first thing that catches you is the fucking live shot on the CD sleeve.
Yeah, iconic.
And you're like, fuck, okay. because that is like kind of like the epitome of like what a show is and what I was just beginning to experience at that time. You know what I mean? So I fucking can't tell you how many times I listened to that record, but it's pretty flawless. And at that time of my life, it was one of those things where it just kind of like resonated with me fully. And I'll still jam that record. You know what I mean?
I love it.
And through doing that type of thing, you look at the record sleeve and then you start reading the thanks list on every record. And that's how you start to learn about other bands. And you're like, oh, fucking cool. I want to check out Wide Awake and Instead and fucking Shut Down. Oh, One King Down. Like all this other shit. You know what I mean? And it kind of spawns from there. And then you start to get a real groove for this underground shit that's going on. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that record kind of was kind of a cornerstone for me for kind of getting me into a bunch of other shit as well.
Yeah.
No.
Not much more to say. Yeah, the record cover is awesome. The shirts were awesome. You know, the Truth of Death shirts. Like, I remember ordering shirts off of freaking Lost and Found, having like super weird chain strength shirts and records. But yeah, the songs are awesome. The talking parts are so rad. Like, lyrics are like heartfelt. Like, just to me, yeah, it's like it's like pretty legit like hardcore record, right up my alley, dude. So I personally rated it Illmatic, just because to me it's one of the best, dude. Like, it's a go-to. Someone wants to hear a hardcore record, I'm gonna tell them this one, you know, with some other ones, but this one's it's not too crazy, but it's just hard enough and like angry enough and heartfelt enough to where people can like dig in like first listen, I think. So Marshall, what'd you rate it at?
That Chain of Strength record, I'd put it at I put that on the top tier, the Illmatic tier, because it's something that everybody should listen to at least a few times. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a classic. So.
Yeah. It might not be one of my top 10 all time, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, for
Ryan,
sure.
Where are you at, Ryan?
Illmatic, totally. It's hands down. That band was so good. So good.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, dude. If I go to a show and someone comes to Chain Strength song,
yeah,
I'm gonna like mosh and stage dive and like probably hurt myself. So that's something, you know.
Yeah, but also with hardcore, I don't think you can do a top 10 because there's so many fucking bands. So you have to do like a top 50 or a top 100.
Yes, definitely top 50 for sure. Just
It's definitely top 50.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hopefully, yeah, shirts come out again, all that. Definitely rad. So, well, those are the records. Marshall, anything you want to talk about real quick before we close out?
No, not really. Just hope everybody has happy holidays and hope this shit ends soon so everybody can get back to hanging out and fucking being cool again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you haven't got the newest Warriors Monument record, check it out. It's awesome. Tons of guest vocals, tons of rad music, it's just a great record. Great lyrics. Read them, live them. Hit up Marshall, ask him questions about him. He loves to talk about that. Smart dude, spiritual dude, intellectual dude. He's someone I go to all the time on lyrics and just chatting up, dude. So, Ryan, anything else?
No, man. It's good to see you, Marshall. Been a while, man.
Hey, you too, Ryan. You too, Andy. Excellent.
All right. Thanks, Marshall, for coming on the little episode. COMMS, straight out Tehachapi. Be safe, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother.
All right. Love you, man.
Later, guys.
See you, Marshall.